Hey everyone, my name is Megan and welcome back to What's Your Why. Today's episode is going to be taken over by Fletcher, who is such a special person. I met Fletcher when I was in Australia and he's one of the people that made me feel so at home on the other side of the world. Ever since I set up What's Your Why, Fletcher's been so supportive. So when I heard that he was interested in having a conversation with me for What's Your Why, I was so happy because he's living such an interesting, powerful life and I'm so intrigued about it that I could have asked him a million questions about it. I'm really excited to share the short snippet that we did record together. So sit back, relax and enjoy. I hope that you get as much impact from this as I did talking to Fletcher.
But yeah, I grew up in a pretty privileged area, and was had a pretty fortunate upbringing, and had issues with bullying and things like that during my primary school and high school years. But compared to others, it wasn't too bad, and I lived a pretty lucky primary and high school kind of life. I had two pretty incredible supportive parents, both of who are psychologists, but usually it's when the two parents are psychologists that the kids sometimes don't turn out too good. But yeah, and look, I was very much into sport. Sport was my thing back then. Playing it, and I was refereeing it, and I was coaching it, and then that's kind of where my career was headed. And I did a gap year in Cambodia, and I lived there the year before, and it kind of shifted my perspective and kind of gave me a massive reality check in terms of my own privilege and where I stood in the world, and kind of gave me an understanding of how to, what proper community work was, and really working alongside a community. And I always said since I was 19 went over, I always learned far more from those young people and kids than they'll ever have learned from me. So I felt almost bad. I felt like I got all the self-development from the trip. I'm not sure how much they got, but I love movies. I always finish a good film. It makes me reflect on my own life, and I'm like, I know it's a good film if it makes me reflect. And I saw $1 Million Baby, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I just was absolutely bawling my eyes out because it's a very sad film. And then I was like, I think I'm going to stop doing sport. I'm going to do psychology. And I think the reason being is what I love about sport, and much to a lesser extent now, is how it brought people together, and the community aspect, and building other people up, and seeing some of the, the best in supporting others. And that's not really where it was heading for me. I just found this branch of psychology called community psychology, which had all the beautiful values that I kind of had and understood about the world, in terms of the community being the experts in their own lives, and us really just being a guide, someone to walk alongside them. I found my kind of area in the world, and had a lot of pretty great work experiencing working with all different communities all around Australia and the world. And then kind of while that was happening is when I kind of probably had my real difficult part of my life. I got sick when I was in India, and it kind of unleashed a bunch of pre-existing kind of biological stuff. Seeing somewhere between 40 and 50 different professionals, and there was a time there that I didn't think I'd be able to work at all. In a similar vein, my mum got sick, and her health really deteriorated to the point where her anxiety and depression really kicked in, and she actually ended up first attempting to take her own life, and then she did take her own life about 6 weeks after. So yeah, that was a big difficult time for me. Contrast of my 20s versus my teenage years was quite different, but has really kind of made me who I am today, I guess.
And Fletcher, there's so much that you said that I just have a million questions in my head that I want to
Sorry,
ask.
I said a lot.
No, I could listen to you speaking absolutely all day. And firstly, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. What kind of an impact has that had on your life?
And she was always kind of my hero growing up. She had a pretty rough upbringing, and really saw her job to really break that cycle, and she very much did. Which was so nice. She let me and my brother be our own people, but was always very much there to catch us if we were falling or fell. And someone who who a lot of my life values, in terms of those ones I was talking about before, about my kind of love for community work and that empathy for other people and actually wanting to make a difference and impact in the world, which is kind of my main focus now. Is really came from her. And like, we knew she was sick, but it really came out of nowhere for us. You know, it was the first time, you know, she was missing, and we thought she got kidnapped or something. Like, we didn't even think. They say, you know, that there's all different types of people, you know, in the family system with grief, but there's one that's usually the practical person who, you know, I was the one who organised the funeral and all that kind of stuff, and it's their grief tends to be delayed. So I feel like it's, and then I kind of ended up jumping on medication, which, you know, helped in the moment, but didn't let me probably process things that fast. So I still think I'm processing things now coming off some of those meds, more than I was during that time after. Yeah.
And how's that going, just the processing of it now?
It's going well. I've always been a big feeler of emotion, both positive and negative, but like, I think I didn't realize the side effects some of those pills were having, you know, like not experiencing the big ups or the big downs. So it's been nice to have a bit of both over the last while. Still, you know, dealing with the downs and a bit of anxiousness can be tricky sometimes, but it's been nice to feel things again, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think when I lost my mum, it was only then I noticed how little grief is talked about, or the journey of grief, and I just really admire you for talking about your mum. What was her name?
Karen was her name. Everyone is going to lose someone at some stage, so yeah, especially with suicide, you know, like I'm always happy to chat about it and kind of normalize that. I think that's really important, because, you know, there's lots of people that affects, but yeah, same with grief as well. It happens to everyone.
What's one thing from your mom's life and just her as a person that you'd like to take with you going forward?
I think I didn't realize at the time how much she imparted in terms of me being a feminist, and how so many little things that I didn't notice until now that I look back on things, and you know, I call myself a proud feminist today. How many of those really in subtle ways she helped me realize, you know, things like, you know, basic stuff like, you know, she's like, you know, never interrupt like a woman when they're speaking, because you'll look at the table and you'll see, you know, men will interrupt women more than just so many little things like that. And yeah, I hope she looks, you know, down or around or wherever she's looking from or not looking from, and kind of, yeah, is quite proud of that, because it's something that I am.
Is there anything that you'd say to somebody who might have lost someone through suicide?
I think for me, what I was surprised about is, you know, people talk a lot about post-traumatic stress, and I also had a lot of post-traumatic growth. I kind of, it'll snap you out of your day to day and realize really what's important to you. And, you know, it gave me a chance to I could just continue down the path I was going and be a bit blissfully ignorant, or I can, you know, I really go for what I want and understand what I wanted in life, and really working out who I was and where I wanted to go and what was important to me. We don't talk about that much that can come from, you know, when we do lose someone.
You realise some of the things that were most important to you. What were some of those?
Yeah, I realised that I'm a really creative person, and I really like creativity, and I've like flipped on this sporty person. Like, I just don't really care about sport anymore. What I like play. So doing lots of play and having lots of fun and games. Kind of realise the importance of art and creativity, how it can connect people no matter who they are or where they're from. And I've had a lot of fun kind of doing a lot of creative stuff. What am I going to look back on and wish I did more of, you know? And it's not, you know, how much money's in the bank account or you know, how many friends I've got or whatever. And I often kind of think a lot about that and about the legacy and the person I want to leave, but also, you know, not putting pressure on myself to go, and I'm not here to save the world. I'm just here to play a small part and hopefully make others make their own lives better is the plan.
What are some of those ways that you're already doing that?
Yeah, good question. Like activism is something really important to me, both online and in person, and encouraging others. And I think the first time that really hit me was a friend who he said he saw my post and it really changed his mind, or just made him think differently. And because you never think, you're like, oh, posts, am I just preaching to the converted? Is this going to change? So just trying to be consistent and keeping on putting stuff out there, and ensuring that it's always from good sources and from people that are experts in their own lives, and it's from the community themselves. And then doing a lot of that in person as well, whether it's rallies and volunteering and that kind of stuff, and but also doing a lot of like community building stuff around my neighborhood, running like events, or like sharing food and having like food banks. A bigger goal, which is slowly ticking away, is kind of using my theoretical knowledge and skills to write a book that's kind of for others to kind of consume, to help with some of those practical ways to make the world a better place, but really basing it in the theory and learning from the community and other people as well.
And what would be some of the things in your life that like fuels your heart the most?
Oh, definitely my partner. Like we've been through, my wife now. We've been through a lot together. Through my mum passing, her mum passing, and then she was the first open adoption in Australia. So she's got a pretty interesting family story, and it's now that we're both, we've got through COVID now, and we're both starting to thrive and learn a lot from each other. And I just love being around her. She fills me with energy, and we just love just going to a random place and going to the op shops and just talking shit and just being around each other. So yeah, she gives me the most energy. And for me, my favorite thing about her is she's constantly working on herself as a person and developing herself, and that really inspires me to develop and work on myself.
I'd love to know, what are you proudest of yourself for?
Great question. Proud of myself. I think getting through some of those tougher times, how far I've come in terms of what I've kind of learned about the world and the community and the viewpoint I have now, and looking at how far I've come in the last kind of 10 years and how much I've learned about that and really changed in a really positive way. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. And I think, I know that my mum would be proud of that too, in terms of the values that I hold and how I want to be with other people, and to always lead with empathy. I think is, no matter who people are or what the situation is, I think that's definitely what I'm most proud of.
So what's your why?
My why is to have positive impact on other people, and whatever that can be, and really ensuring that they're the ones leading that, and I'm just here to chip in and help where I can, and really making sure that I'm telling myself that as much as I can, and trying to live by that value, and holding that up to the standard that my mum would have set as well. Yeah, that's my why.